want to welcome you to another one of our candidate forums. My name is Harry Tipper. I'm going to be your moderator today. Try to get it a little closer, but you never can tell. I'm trying to use my pulpit voice. Anyway, our assistant tonight is Vicki Nicholson, and of course, our timekeeper, video recorder, and general cook and bottle washer is Tom Canning. Tonight's forum is about the election of mayoral candidates for St. Mary's. The candidates, I'll start with my left, going right, is Jerre Brumbelow, Ken Jackson, Lisa James, and Greg Lockhart. Before we get really going, I really want to put on record a big thank you for the PSA staff, letting us have this facility, doing all the work to set up all these chairs and stuff, and for accommodating the needs for tonight's forum. So let's just give them a quick. Couple little bits of housekeeping. You probably noticed it, but I'll remind you anyway. The restrooms are just out the door to the right. If we could, everybody that has got a cell phone, put it on mute or turn it off, please. Some of us have it on vibrate all the time because we're on Zoom calls all the time. Anyway, during this forum, to maximize the time for our candidates, I'm sure they're going to say something that you really like. I ask you, please hold your applause until the end of the program. So we're trying to get a lot of opportunity for people to talk, a number of questions, in a very short amount of time. So that would be very helpful. Speaking of the questions, these are the product of input from you all. We don't have any particular axe to grind. All we're trying to do is to make sure that we get issues that you want to hear out into the forum. Now, our format tonight is pretty normal. Each candidate is going to have a specific amount of time, and I'll talk about that for each question, to answer the question or to respond to another candidate's comments. When we finish this session, of course, now you can applaud, but also this time afterward for you to meet and greet with the candidates. Our only requirement is we get kicked out at 8 o'clock. And for some of us who haven't had dinner yet, we may leave a little earlier. Anyway, so aside from that, we do have a schedule of the rest of the forums that are going to happen, and also contact information and information about the online presentation. So, with that, let us move on to the questions. And our first question, you're going to notice for the first question, we're going to start in alphabetical order. The downside of this job is too many pieces of paper. Anyway, okay, here we go. The councils have approved and issued bonds to facilitate and build infrastructure for residential or commercial development within St. Mary's. These include expanded sewer and water capacity, infrastructure improvement to support the development of Commerce Park, and the Radiant project at and near exit 1 of I-95. These bonds have current and future payment dates that the city must honor. I'd ask each of you to explain the financial implications and risks of these bonds on the city today, tomorrow, and into the future. And we will start with Jerry Brumbelow.
Good evening. These, I think we have about $65 million worth of bond debt now, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. But as it stands now, when we develop Exit 1, we're going to take in a lot of water and sewer tap money. We're going to take in a lot more taxes, and we're going to double pretty much the workforce in St. Marys with this project. With the commercial development that's going to go out there, we should be easily able to pay that bond off. We're currently paying another bond that the city had earlier, and we're paying that with SPLOST money and some other funds that come in on water and sewer. But these projects and the Commerce Park is pretty much paying for itself as it sells lots and develops out there too. So I think we're in really good shape, and that along with the developments, there'll be money spent building more capacity for the rest of the city, in addition to for these developments as they come on board. They're going to bring a huge tax base to the city that we're going to be able to actually do other stuff in the city as well as pay these bonds off on time. Thank you.
Ken?
Yes. So when he talked about the tax base and everything like that, it definitely is going to, help us along the entire process. To my understanding, it's going to be approximately about a 10-year process for this development on the Radiant side. Now, some of the risks that may be involved is I know that they've talked about tying in with our current storm drains, and I don't believe that our current storm drains are ready to take on that task. Part of my platform talked about an upgrade to our current storm drain system as well, and so that would be one of the risks. Now, definitely with the selling of the properties and things of that nature will help with paying for it, but I'm looking more toward what the risk may be, because when it's done and when it's built, it'll definitely bring plenty of revenue to the city. There's no doubt in my mind that that'll happen, but we have to get it to the point to where it's fully developed and make it to that point. So that's about what I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa?
Great question, by the way. So pretty much as far as the bonds go, they are revenue bonds that are directly tied in to the incremental increase in taxes from the Exit 1 project. In addition to the project there's also about $313 million worth of infrastructure in terms of water, sewer, and utilities that's actually needed over the next 10 years for the city. So when we were doing those bonds, we also took into consideration the fact that we need to upgrade our systems. So the upgrade in the systems is going to happen as we go through this process, as long as all of the projects are managed properly. There's also at the end of that project, there should be about $34 million in additional tax revenue that comes into the city. Right now, we're collecting approximately $12 million. So obviously, we're going to triple the amount of tax revenue we receive. And then we do have some projects that are pay-as-you-go. So as those projects come online, the developers will be paying as they, develop, and will also receive tax revenues from those projects. So based off of the current amount of funding that we've actually applied for and received through bond funding, we should not have any risk at all. I mean, as an example, the Exit 1 project was valued at about $1 million in terms of the tax revenue, and now it's at $8 million. So we've already seen the increments there. Thank you.
Greg?
Thank you. And first of all, let me thank everyone for being here tonight. I appreciate y'all's interest in the forum. the tax allocation district, as Lisa said, is the increase in property taxes due to the raised property value of those properties. And already the property at Exit 1 for that particular TAD has gone from agricultural land to planned development, and so it's had a large increase in revenue just from that rezoning. The danger in TADs, if there is one, is if projects fail to move forward in a timely fashion, then the revenue does not come in to make those payments. And from the update that we've received recently, it looks like development is moving forward, very rapidly with the developers there, with Taylor Morrison already planning their first development on that side. So things should be in good stead there to make those payments as they come due. We talked about other TAD areas, and one of the things that we need to keep in mind as we look to this, I mean, I'm very familiar as a member of the Joint Development Authority of using TADs to spur development, spur industrial growth, but we have to meter that with when the tax revenue starts to come in, and we don't always have to do a full percent, where all of the TAD revenue, all the increased property tax goes back to the developer or towards infrastructure. Part of it could go to general fund if they're built that way. So as we move forward and look at other opportunities, we just need to make sure we put the right vehicle in place to make sure that some of this money starts to come back into the general fund and help us with some of the other needs that have been mentioned.
Thank you. Well, hold on to the microphone because you're going to start the next question. This is one where Lockhart will have 2 minutes, and then the other candidates will each have a 1-minute rebuttal. To understand the format here. So here's the question. There are those who believe that the mayor's job is mostly ceremonial, ribbon cuttings, proclamations, and representing the city at numerous functions. There are others that believe the mayor issues orders and everybody follows. Would you define the mayor's most important jobs and how you're prepared to perform them? Greg?
Yes, sir. Of course, if you read the city charter, it spells out pretty clearly that the mayor is the chief executive officer of the city. So as the CEO, one of the most important responsibilities is creating a vision for the organization. Just like in a for-profit company, the CEO drives the ship. Where are we going? Where are we headed? And so that is the main responsibility to show up there and to make sure that everyone gets on the same page and that we all buy into the vision that we have for St. Mary's. And it's clearly stated is another, communication is a very important part of the CEO to communicate to everyone what we're doing and how we're getting there. And so, those are two of the major things. The position of mayor, obviously we have a city manager who is responsible for day-to-day operations. And, these council positions, mayor and council, are part-time positions. But it's about managing your time to make sure that you're there when you need to be. And having been involved in a lot of different things through the years, I'm confident that I will be there when I need to be there. And I want to also make sure that as the CEO, that we build consensus and we get everybody on the same page. And I know that is something that I'm capable of doing. I've been working in this community for 7 years since we moved back. I've been very involved in community groups, and I know that I can get everyone working together for a common goal.
Thank you. Ms. James, 1-minute rebuttal.
Awesome. I mean, he covered a lot there, and I do believe that the primary role of the mayor as a CEO is to, to carry forth the vision, but not necessarily be the only person involved in creating that vision. I believe the vision, especially in a municipality, it should involve the mayor himself or herself, just herself, the mayor herself, your council members, and as well as the members of the community. At the end of the day, you know, where it's a little different than managing a business in the sense that it's managing an organization that is a not-for-profit organization. But at the end of the day, the mayor's job is to make sure that the mission, vision, finances, and all of the different operational portions of the city are able to be managed properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson?
So I think we're missing a huge part. I mean, great answers from Ms. James and Mr. Lockhart, but mayors are supposed to be servants of the citizens, and a mayor should be visible. A mayor should listen to the residents, listen to the citizens, and be more involved within the city. It's more than just cutting ribbons and wearing suits and running out there. It's going out there when times are tough. It's going out there when times are great, and getting more involved in the community. Now, yes, they're known as the executive of the city, but they should also be known as the person that the citizens can go to, seeing that they were elected into office to represent the citizens. Thank you.
And Jerry?
Yeah, the mayor's most important function is to take care of the interests of the taxpayers. He serves as a liaison between the taxpayers and the people that work for the city to make sure that the taxpayers get what they want from the city. The other important job that the mayor has is to build consensus on the city council to deal with the big issues facing the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll use the same format, beginning, the next question is going to begin with Lisa. James? Regarding transparency and records accuracy, over the years, various boards, committees, and authorities have failed to post agendas and approve meeting minutes in a timely manner for public access. In addition, listed member assignments and contact information often have been in error. As the chief executive officer of the city, having general supervision over its affairs, how would you correct and manage this ongoing deficiency?
Sure. Well, first of all, in terms of communication and transparency, each one of the boards, authorities, and committees have different bylaws in terms of who is responsible, and therefore, most times it's multiple people that are responsible for collecting the information, taking the minutes, and then getting them posted. As of right now, they're all individually responsible for it. So I believe that it would be a great opportunity for us to improve that by having one person. I believe we need a communications officer within the city, and their role may be to collect that information and get it posted. And then second of all, we need an updated web page, which makes it easier for people to go to the information that's there. And I think it's also important to highlight that not every board authority has to post their minutes. So only ones that are needed to do so have to do it. But I do believe that it's an opportunity for a greater conversation to make sure that we have a single process for all of those boards, authorities, and committees.
Thank you. Mr. Lockhart?
As we've talked about around town, and it's been mentioned by a number of folks, transparency in government is very important. We are elected to serve the citizens. It's not our government, it's your government. And to that end, you should be able to find out what's going on within the city. And I know the city has been working on a new website that hopefully will be much easier to navigate and find the information. And I think it should be placed there. We do need to make sure that that they are taking care of the things that they're supposed to. The information should be out there, decisions are being made, money is being spent, and we need to be able to find out where that's going on by looking at the city's website to do so. And I would, I've been in the printing business, and if you did a job 25 years ago, I can find your job. I think the city ought to be able to do that as well with information about decisions that were made.
Thank you. Jerry?
Yeah, transparency is above all very important, like I said, because the taxpayers need to know what we're doing. And we need to figure out a way to tell them. You can update the website. That will help. A good example of something lately was the Exit One project when the planning department posted all of that information and you were able to see it. If the rest of the operation would follow that, we would be a lot better off.
And Ken?
Transparency. I've talked about this a lot on my campaign. Transparency is the number one founding rules that should be applied on everything for good governance. We're building a city. We're not building rockets. I mean, it's very simple. There should be nothing that's not transparent. And to be honest, if I was in office, everything would be transparent. And if it gets stopped, you know where to vote next. But the thing is we talk about the transparency and we talk about informing the citizens. But what about the citizens that don't use social media? What about the citizens that don't use the internet? And so one of the things that I've offered during my campaign is something, maybe a newsletter that goes out monthly, informs you of all kinds of items that's going on within the city, agendas, things that we're looking to vote on, or other items like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for our next question, we're actually going to do a slightly different format because this was a request to follow up for one of the candidates' campaign. So I'm going to direct this question at you, Mr. Jackson. One of your campaign slogans is, quote, "I am the people," close quote. In St. Mary's, we are a diverse community of people who do not agree on everything, or maybe anything, from politics to religion to how to raise children. How can you proclaim to be all people since many St. Mary's residents do not agree with your personal positions or views? The mayor is expected to somehow walk the line between personal opinions and the views of others. Can you pledge to separate your personal views from city decision-making? And if so, how would you achieve that goal?
Yes, I have said that I am the people, and that's because I am. I live among the people. I deal with the issues that the people deal with every single day. Will I proclaim, let me see what this says, can I pledge to separate my personal views from city decision-making? I can't, and I'm going to be honest with you, because my personal views are that the citizens need their voices heard, they need their voices valued. And I'm the guy that will value every single voice, regardless of how much you make, regardless of your race, your gender, your sexuality, any of those items on the list. It doesn't matter what it is. Every single voice will be heard, and every single voice will be dealt with the same amount of intensity and interest as every other voice. So no, I cannot do that, because my personal view is the same view as the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We'll return to the more usual format. This next question, we'll start off with Mr. Brumbelow. And then each of the other candidates will have a 1-minute rebuttal. As mayor, you will be expected to push for passage of Slot 9 taxes this spring. While this is a general sales tax and not a homeowner tax, residents who do business here will be paying this 1% tax. Will you support the continuation of the slot tax, and how and what will you say to the citizens to get them to vote yes? Sir?
Please vote yes. We need that money. That money, that tax money, no one feels that like they do their home taxes and stuff like that. And we need that money to help build the city infrastructure like it needs to be. And it's a painless tax, and we're going to get more and more of SPLOST tax money as Exit 1 comes online. So please support SPLOST.
Ken?
Asking the citizens for money is always a tough subject. But what I can say is this: if if this is something that's needed and every other option has been exhausted, and there's no other option than to do this, then I would ask for the citizens to vote yes. But if there's other options, we would definitely look at those. That would not be a first option. I'd like to keep money in your pockets. Thank you.
Thank you. We're actually going to jump around slightly. Mr. Lockhart?
Lisa can probably help me with the exact number, but, you know, SPLOST revenues right now a large part of our revenues go towards the water and sewer improvements that were made years ago. And we would have to come up with that out of property taxes if we weren't using SPLOST revenues for that particular portion of that. It's pretty major, and it's going to continue on for another 10 years or so, I think, at least. But so SPLOST 9 is very important to continue. The other thing about SPLOST funds is I know that Georgia Power is working on a new study, but I think somewhere around 35–40% or more of those SPLOST revenues are paid by people who don't live in Camden County or St. Marys. Travelers off the interstate that stop and purchase things there pay those sales taxes. So it is somewhere where we're getting a good proportion of that, you know, from outsiders. And so from that point, SPLOST is a very good tax for the locals if you have to have one. It's unfortunately kind of a necessary evil to address the infrastructure things that we do have forthcoming, and it'd be very important for us to keep that in mind when we go to the vote on that next year.
Thank you. Ms. James?
Sure. Quite simply, $1.5 million of that SPLOST actually goes to help us pay down the bond for the wastewater treatment plant. And then about 30% of that 1% tax is taken care of by tourists. And then thirdly, we're already paying the 1 penny, 1% tax, so it's not a new tax. It's just a continuation of something that we're already doing. And lastly, what would I say? Would you prefer for us to go back to you for more taxes, or would you prefer to continue doing what we're already doing?
Thank you. All right, so we're going to return back to our 2 minutes for each candidate, and we'll start with Mr. Lockhart. Everybody gets the same question. But we don't ask the candidates to remember what I said. It's going to be long. During your campaign, each of you, either specifically or generically, have stated that you have objectives you'd like to achieve if elected. It is likely that most of them require additional financing that is not currently within the city budget. So they would require raising taxes or shifting financial resources to achieve them. Yes, grant money is nice, but competition for grant money is stiff, and the result is not predictable. The current city general budget is more than $21 million. This information is available online, so we assume that anybody running for mayor has reviewed it. So to meet your objectives, if you were to shift $2 million in financing from current expenditures to something new or different, where would you get those $2 million? And we will start with Ms. Brumbelow.
Oh, I thought you were starting with Greg. Well, if you look at the current budget, we have about $2 to $4 million of one-off spending, mostly for vehicles. So in this current year, you might not be able to get the money, but in the following years, when you go back to zero for vehicles for maintenance or the fire department or whatever, there's a big chunk of money there that's going to be spent this year that won't necessarily be spent next year. Also, every year our tax revenue is increasing, and we can do more and more things. And we do need to work really hard to get grants, because you can't beat that for funding. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Jackson.
So during my campaign, I had a lot of ideas of things I'd like to see in St. Marys, and things that with talking to the residents and my fellow friends and neighbors, some of the items on the list were like skating rings or more family-oriented activities or businesses and things of that nature. But taking money from any other area just wouldn't seem right. And you could do other items while you raise the funds for that. We could in the summertime set up a whiteboard down at the pavilion downtown St. Mary's in the summertime at night and play a movie off a projector for the children. We can do scavenger hunts and things of that nature. I don't really see a reasoning on taking $2 million from any other areas for that. Each item that we're wanting within the city, it's going to take time. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight, and so we're going to have to prioritize each item on the list to reach those goals. But I've looked at numerous items on that agenda. I think for me personally, storm drains would be probably top of my list, and I'll be honest, I mean, would any of the other issues matter if we're underwater? So I mean, we have to get away from the flooding issues and those things as well. So I wouldn't take any money from anything. I'd look at other options before taking any money. Thank you.
James?
Thank you. I'm going to push way back on this question. First off, it wouldn't be good financial sense to move $2 million from any current expenditure when we have $10.1 million of unrestricted funds that are available. So we also could actually make a decision to use some of those funds. Secondly, the thing that I would push back on is grant funding and the competitive nature of grants. Yes, it has been a very, very competitive process for the city of St. Mary's. However, over the last 4 years, I have worked tirelessly to make sure that the connections have been made so that we don't have to compete with the likes of Atlanta or anything outside of that I-85 belt line. We have a direct connection with the Department of Community Affairs, which 80% of grant funding for the state comes from. We have direct connections with the National League of Cities with their infrastructure hub, which actually helps us to write grants. So I'm, again, pushing back on the fact that we need to move $2 million from some unknown expenditure when we have activities that we do not need to cut, but we actually have, again, $10.1 million of unrestricted funds, and we also have a very good opportunity to be able to identify and capture grants. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
So the digest of gross digest of St. Mary's over the last 20 years has grown a little over 2.5 times, while our sister city here in Kingsland has gone over 4 times in growth. And a lot of that growth has been commercial growth. And right now in St. Mary's, 93% of our tax base comes from property taxes for residents. Most thriving cities, you're looking at somewhere closer to 60 or 65% residential, with the rest being commercial. So we're way behind and need to be concerned about how to increase commercial growth and commercial tax base. Commerce Park has been a great first start. Pigmental Studios hopefully is going to ignite the Midtown area, but we have to have a strong plan and a strong process, and a lot of that has to do with location, location, location. You don't want to bring in a new business next door to some overgrown property or something that looks unkempt, and people don't want their businesses, located like that. So we've got to take a serious eye and look at those types of things and how we can make it more attractive to businesses and grow businesses. We can do some selective community, surveys to find out what kind of businesses we'd like to have and try to target those. But more than anything, we have to create an environment where businesses can survive and thrive. Otherwise, they won't come. And that's the most important thing that we can do.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on, and I'm going to apologize to the panel because I managed to screw up the time slot slightly, but we'll correct it on this one. and we'll also correct the order. So, in this question, we're actually going to start with Mr. Lockhart and work our way back through the panel. In the public eye, the city has a reputation for nearly never meeting a deadline. What can you do as mayor to adjust priorities, culture, philosophy, and/or practice that will change this pattern? Ms. Lockhart, we'll start with you.
You know, I would probably, first of all, disagree that we've never met a deadline. I guess that depends on what projects you try to cherry pick. But, you know, there are a lot of factors involved in construction and project management, and a lot of outside influences that, quite frankly, are very difficult to control. What we can do is pay attention to those details, and on a daily basis, you know, and constantly reevaluate where we are, where we're supposed to be, and communicate, you know, through staff, you know, to the contractors and to the folks that are supposed to be getting these things accomplished. You know, the philosophy is well on its way down there to improving with, you know, the leadership that's currently there. Jamie Stein has been a real jewel to add to the city for planning and building. And she is on top of a lot of details, and we need to support her in that role to continue to improve those areas that have to do with construction and building. And you know, we just have to wake up every day and be prepared to do the work that's required to make sure that we follow through.
Thank you. Ms. James?
Sure. I would have to say that we have met deadlines. And so never meeting a deadline is definitely not a true statement. But as mayor, let's just talk about one thing. We should prioritize in terms of the projects that we have. Like, you know, we have multiple priorities that are happening all at once. And so we need to make sure that we have the right people in the right roles and at the right time. But I think if there's a perception of never meeting deadlines, then to me, I think the number one thing that we could do is we could change our culture. Thank you. So in terms of thank you. In terms of the culture, I think that we need to make sure that we have a culture of excellence, and that starts from the top and it goes all the way down to the very last person hired. We have a culture of excellence. I don't think we have a problem of worrying about a reputation of not meeting deadlines.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson?
Very simple answer, full transparency. During my time in the military, we've had numerous times that we couldn't meet deadlines on things. And the CEO let us know, hey, we can't make deadline. This is the reason why. Were we upset? Yeah, but we knew why. And so that eased the sting. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brumbelow?
Yeah, as mayor, if we have a problem with that, then we're going to get rid of it.
Okay. I like long-winded answers. Okay. We're going to start this next one with Ms. James. Residents have expressed a concern that the city seems to be taking on new projects in CAD areas that we do not have the internal talent, capacity, and discipline to manage effectively. Do you see evidence that we are bringing on either the staff or the council expertise to oversee and manage these new CADs, bonds, and related projects? If not, what can we do other than hiring short-term expensive consultants to manage them?
Well, to answer the first question is yes, we have brought on new staff that has the expertise to oversee and manage. Our community development director is responsible for overseeing most of the projects within the TADs. Secondly, a city the size of St. Mary's is never going to have on staff the quality and level of number of engineers that we need in order to make these projects come to fruition. So wisely, we actually have two engineering firms, one that oversees the project management and some of the infrastructure, and then another that oversees the design. So obviously, we know that we don't have enough staff with the level of expertise in order to be able to handle most of this. I will say, in terms of staff, do we have council expertise? 4 years ago, the city of St. Mary's wisely elected somebody that had a finance degree, that had business experience, and that had the ability to build consensus amongst the council members. So for sure, we have some council that have the expertise. That was a quick hint that it was me, by the way. And I think we should always be doing everything that we can to make sure that these projects come to fruition, and that we have the best of the best that's working on them, because I believe the city of St. Mary's and their citizens deserve the best out of every project. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brumbelow, your turn.
Yeah, we have a pretty good city staff, but no, I don't think any city is equipped to handle the scope of like an Exit 1 project. If you look at the contractor that the city hired to manage that project, you'll see that they have way more expertise than anybody we could ever hire here. So I think we're doing the right thing. We're hiring outside consultants when we need to, because if you want to get the job done right, you got to have the expertise, and we won't have that on city work staff.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
So surround yourself with competent individuals. That'd be number one. If you find yourself in a situation where you're asking somebody that should know and they don't know, and they don't even have the drive to go know, might need to get a new person. Now, with these things here, have I seen any evidence that we're bringing on either the staff or council expertise to oversee and manage? I have. I've been to numerous meetings with this Exit 1 development, and they continuously impress me with the knowledge that they have on the entire project. They've brought in numerous experts. They've done surveys on traffic. They've done all these other items. I think it's a great project. I only have one disagreement, and that disagreement would be they are going to have a full 18-hole golf course over there when they have one right across the street. So when did the citizens actually get one? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lockhart.
Okay, yes. Large projects, the scope of a 1,300 home development, obviously are not the type of projects that you can have, people on staff permanently that provide those types of services. The city, is not involved personally in doing those types of developments. We support those types of projects through making sure that the infrastructure and those types of things are there, for the project, and figure out, how we're going to pay for those and what's needed exactly, through studies with engineering firms that provide and bring a lot more expertise than we could ever have on staff, just due to, like I say, at least said our size, and we would always want to go and find the best people in the field for the question at hand that day, and always trying to have that person on staff is not necessarily going to work. And so we need to be smart enough to know when we need to ask questions, and then when we hear those responses, we need to make sure that we listen to them and we act in a very proactive, defined, and prioritized way to make sure that we're getting things accomplished.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on. We're actually in pretty good shape for time. I like that. We're going to start with Mr. Lockhart, and then everybody else will have a minute for comment or rebuttal. For fiscal year 2025, the city of St. Mary's budgeted more than $2 million from the general fund for the city senior center, aquatic park, marina, orange hall, and warming kitchen, supplements to organizations sponsored festivals and events, and other expenses that are arguably not core requirements for the city government. Is this use of tax revenue sustainable? What, if anything, needs to change?
Well, the budget process is carried over a number of months, and opportunities for department heads, council members that are involved in different committees, and individuals within the city to come and let the city know what is needed for their department, what their wish list is, and it's incumbent upon the mayor and the council to determine and prioritize what these requests are to make sure that they are in line with what we are trying to accomplish from the vision that we have set out. Once we all agree that this is what we want St. Mary's to look like and to be like 10 years from now, then all of our decisions, all of our policies and procedures need to be moving us closer to that path. And if it's not doing that, then we really need to seriously decide whether it's something we need to do. A lot of these things that you mentioned on this list here are quality of life issues. And so some of them are important. It's part of the reason why many of us moved here. You came, you visited a festival, you saw things going on at Orange Hall or whatever, and you're like, this is really cool and neat. I like this. I'd like to live here. And you moved here. So we can't just summarily, end all of these things, but we need to make sure that we are focused on the vision and what we want, and that we're, very precision-like way moving towards those goals, and that if it's not in the direct path of that we need to reconsider whether we should be doing it or not. And it's as simple as getting up every day and focusing on your vision and making sure that we're making decisions in accordance with that.
Thank you. Ms. James?
Sure. The budget process that we have in the city of St. Mary's is very thorough. I mean, we do line by line, and most times it's by priority. And so every last one of these is in regards to the quality of life for our citizens. Now, we definitely need to, we talk a lot about economic development, communication, transparency, but a major part of what makes a city is the quality of life. We can't have our seniors and our young people living here with absolutely nothing to do. So in terms of, this is saying they're not core requirements, I would argue that quality of life is a core requirement. Nobody wants to live someplace with zero quality of life. So I would rephrase that question and say these are absolutely core requirements for our city.
Thank you. Mr. Brumbelow?
Yeah, I think we need to spend more money on these types of projects. We need to fix our parks. We need to make our quality of life for people here a lot better. And a lot of you have probably been to the senior center. That's a spectacular place for our seniors. So no, we can spend at least twice that much money on these things.
Thank you. Jackson?
I'll tell you what, those are all excellent answers, and I could not agree more. Entertainment for our children, for families, and things of that nature, they're a necessity. And our goal in our city should be to stop having the citizens need to leave the city or state for that entertainment. They should be able to have those within the city so they don't need to leave. Our goal should be to keep the citizens in the city and spending the money in the city instead of having to go to Kingsland, Brunswick, Jacksonville, or other areas for that type of entertainment. Is it sustainable? Definitely. If the citizens are going to use it, it's definitely sustainable. And so everything they said, quality of life. Currently, right now, what do we have for teenagers? Nothing. We don't have anything for teenagers. We have the aquatic center for infants and young children, but ever since the bowling alley burned down, there's really been no entertainment for them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this next question is, again, one of those times where people out there have asked to get one of our candidates to clarify something that they've been saying. So this is just for Mr. Brumbelow. Your campaign materials focus on your work experience that dates back a decade plus. The campaign platform says that you believe the city, quote, should not be responsive to special interest groups, should support transparency, safety, and ensure well-maintained parks and recreational facilities, unquote. Just who are the special interest groups to which you refer, and what will you do to ensure transparency by council, staff, boards, committees, and authorities? You have 2 minutes.
Okay. First of all, my experience dates back decades. That's true because I'm getting old, but also, you know, I currently am a small business owner in St. Marys too, so you see a lot of stuff. But through the years, you've heard a lot about things that have gone on in the city with different interest or whatever being put before the interest of the taxpayers. And I brighten that up because I just want to make sure that when I'm mayor, there won't be any special interest, and what we do will be transparent to all the people that live here. And the council, you know, you get to watch the council meetings, the boards and the committees and the authorities. There needs to be a little more, I don't know if you call it transparency, but you need to be able to know what PSA is doing, what other departments are doing, and you can't go online and find that out. And we need, like I said, like the planning department put that good stuff out online. All that information needs to be online so you can find out what the current physical issues are with any of the boards and authorities and all that stuff like that. So that's it.
Okay. Well, we've got a pretty good question session, and now we're going to give each candidate 2 minutes to sort of wrap things up, but it's not going to be quite open-ended. We're going to give them a suggestion. In your closing statement, please identify key subjects that have not been covered by the forum questions to date. And why will residents and business owners in St. Marys be best served with you as their mayor? And we will start with Mr. Jackson.
So why would I make a great mayor? Because I'll be open to everybody's questions, concerns, comments, and ideas. I'll ensure your voice is heard if I have to bring it up to the board myself. I will talk with local businesses and find out what makes them angry, what are they missing, what would they like to see. Same thing with the citizens, the residents, my friends and neighbors. Why are you angry? Are you angry? What are you angry about? What can we do to fix it? See, I believe in servant leadership is the best quality that a mayor can have. Now, I'm not the guy with all the bells and whistles, but one thing I can tell you is I'll never lie to you. I'll be completely honest. And with full transparency, I got to be honest with you with that as well. Somebody may get their feelings hurt, but you know where I'm at and where I stand. I'm firm in my beliefs of freedom. I believe everybody has a freedom to be whatever they want to be. They can represent themselves however they want. Freedom of religion and all that. I served 22 years in the Navy, and I swore an oath to defend the Constitution, which is my campaign slogan. I have yet to be relieved, so I will continue to stand the watch. And so I'll just say this: hold the line, because change is coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brumbelow.
Yeah, right now I think that one thing we didn't bring up today is I understand that City Council is thinking about passing the $5 stormwater fix or something. Anyway, Mr. Riley seems to believe that, but that's an issue that needs to be talked about. The Gilman Boathouse property, we've been going to build a convention center and a hotel there for like 15 years, and I don't think the taxpayers ever were happy with anything that's going on there, so we need to look at that project. The old mill property, you know, where are we? We're supposed to have a marina there. We don't have a marina, and the owner missed his payment. So where is that going? And we talked about the commerce part. We got a lot of good stuff going there, but there was other stuff that's supposed to be happening at the commerce part that doesn't appear to be happening either. So we need to look at those issues.
Thank you. Ms. James?
Well, two glaring things that we haven't mentioned today is the fact that we have a submarine base in our backyard that houses and that employs close to 10,000 people. And we have an average age of 34 of most of the residents of the city of St. Marys that come from that submarine base. That should be our primary partner when we talk about anything in the city of St. Marys. The submarine base captain has said himself that he worries about his young people having to go to Brunswick or Jacksonville in order to have some entertainment. And as a mom, I could imagine what it's like sitting up at night wondering if your children are going to get home safely. So I believe we need to prioritize the partnership that we have with the Naval Submarine Base. Secondly, we did not mention Cumberland Island. Legally, Cumberland Island is a part of the city of St. Marys. It cannot go anywhere unless there is legally an act of Congress it would take to remove them from the city, and we need to prioritize that relationship as well. So what I would say is, that we need to make sure that the priorities that we have are focused on the things that are the best and the brightest things that we have. Those are two things that we really don't have to do anything except build the relationships and make sure that we're taking care of those folks. Make sure that we're partnering with Cumberland. Make sure that we're doing everything that we can to market ourselves in terms of marketing. We've mentioned and we've talked about it earlier today about funding. At the end of the day, the funding that we get from our tourism is dismal compared to what we're expecting from our taxpayers. In my opinion, we need to broaden that tax base, and part of that comes from our tourists. And secondly, what I'll say is we have a responsibility as elected officials to serve our citizens, absolutely. So if there's anything that I could say that I would do, it's what I've continued to do over the last 4 years is to put our citizens first.
Thank you. And Mr. Lockhart.
Yeah, we didn't specifically talk about our town and some of the blight-related issues that we all see when we drive around town. And I spoke to that as a key factor in improving economic development along that area. As Pigmental Studios moves forward with their plans, City Hall moves out to the old Express Scripts building into that Midtown area. We have the opportunity to reimagine what it looks like when you drive into St. Marys. From the red light forward and really all the way out to exit 1 and out to exit 3. We need a unified, vision for how this city's supposed to look, and we need to take care of, ourselves. If our welcome mat is out for tourists, then we need to look at our city in the same way that tourists look at it when they come into town. What does it look like, and is this someplace I want to come? I see all these blighted properties, and do I want to be here? Do I want to be part of that? And so previous councils have looked at a blight issue, and we're not able to come to a solution, but I think it's time for us to once again readdress that. And there needs to be a different sort of process for residential blight. I'd like to see much more of a community service-oriented response to residential blight to help our neighbors. But a lot of the properties down Highway 40 are owned by people who are not residents of St. Marys. They're from out of town. They don't care what it looks like because they're not here. It's an investment property. And we need an ordinance that puts some teeth there to make them take care of their property and help us to make our city look better and help to attract more growth there. And I just really would like to see a continuation of Midtown into downtown, where it looks like it's always been there and always been that way. We've seen some of the things that can happen with Firefly and some of those kinds of things. We just need to be creative. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we've made it and on time. What a shocking concept. For any political forum. Anyway, I want to thank the candidates. I want to thank you all. I think we at this point, we can relax, and now you can ask your questions of the individual candidates during a meet and greet session. As long as we get out of here before 8 o'clock.